The meeting of the Non-Aligned Movement or NAM heads of states has kicked off in Tehran. The meeting started with an inaugural speech by the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei.
Majesties, Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Islamic Republic of Iran is played, and the leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran enters the conference hall. Please rise.
Addressing the opening ceremony of the summit, leader of the Islamic Revolution Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei said the 16th summit of the Non-Aligned Movement is held to give a new life to the movement. The leader underlined the need for solidarity among all NAM member states and underscored the importance of NAM solidarity as an obvious necessity in the current era for establishing the new world order. He said the policies of the Cold War era and subsequent unilateralism have failed. He said the world is in transition towards a new international order and the non-aligned movement could and should play a new role. The leader said the new world order should be based on the participation of all nations and equal rights for all of them. The leader stated that the main NAM values such as anti-colonialism, political, economic and cultural independence, non-alignment with any power blocs, and improving solidarity and cooperation among the member states remain alive and steady after the passage of more than 5 decades. He said the downfall of the regimes that were dependent on the US and the Zionist regime in the North Africa, as well as the Islamic awakening in the region, should be considered as a great opportunity for members of the movement. He said the US and its allies abused the illogical, unjust, and completely undemocratic structure of the UN Security Council to impose their bullying on the world. He said this is a flagrant form of dictatorship whose expiry date has passed. The leader noted that the US and its allies protect the interests of the West in the name of human rights, interfere militarily in other countries in the name of democracy, and target defenseless people in villages and cities with their bombs and weapons in the name of combating terrorism. He also added that the West imposes its interests on the world nations in the name of international law and its illogical demands in the name of international community. He said the West has disguised its lies as the truth by using their exclusive and organized media networks. Elsewhere in his remarks, Ayatollah Khamenei rejected the Western countries' claims on Iran's peaceful nuclear energy program. He said Iran has never sought nuclear weapons and described the use of nuclear, chemical, and mass destruction weapons as a great and unforgivable sin, and emphasized that Iran adheres to its proposed idea of a Middle East free of nuclear weapons. However, he has stressed that Iran will insist on its motto of nuclear energy for all and nuclear weapons for none. He said breaking the monopoly of certain Western countries on the production of nuclear energy in the framework of NPT is in the interests of all independent countries. The leader also added that the elimination of catastrophic weapons of mass destruction is an urgent necessity and a universal demand. Elsewhere, referring to the very important issue of Palestine, the leader said Iran has provided an entirely democratic solution to this issue. He said all Palestinians, both its current citizens and those who have been forced to leave for other countries, including Muslims, Christians, and Jews, should take part in a public referendum and choose the structure of the political system of this country. The leader stated that all the Palestinians who have suffered from years of exile should return to their country and take part in this referendum and the formulation of the constitution and subsequent elections. Ayatollah Khamenei also offered a benevolent piece of advice to the US politicians who have so far supported the Zionist regime. Pointing to problems which have afflicted the US as a result of supporting the Zionist regime, the leader stated that if Washington's support for the Zionist regime continues, the cost will become even heavier. Now, following the leader's remarks, Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi handed over the presidency of the non-aligned movement to his Iranian counterpart, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Morsi said members of the non-aligned movement have a critical role in resolving the problems facing the world. The Egyptian president also called for participation of NAM members in reforming international bodies such as the United Nations as well as the UN Security Council, and urged bigger participation of NAM states in the decision-making process of the Security Council. He also expressed gratitude to the Islamic Republic of Iran for hosting the summit. Also addressing the NAM summit, the Iranian president called for the implementation of joint global governance and urged the NAM member states for an effort to establish lasting peace in the world based on justice, freedom, and human dignity. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said through collective cooperation, we can have the necessary strategies, including a monetary fund, a bank, insurance, and independent economic structures. He said the NAM member states could also devise new trade methods, including transactions with national currencies and the elimination of a specific currency from global transactions. Elsewhere, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad criticized the dominance of Western powers in the UN, saying that other nations are deprived from materializing their demands within the current structure of the UN. President Ahmadinejad said hegemonic powers seek to create division among nations and sacrifice divine values, including justice and freedom, to protect their own interests. Stressing the need for a change in the current world management system, the Iranian president said that any future mechanism should be based on divine and humane values and should include a collective participation of world countries. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has underlined the key role the non-aligned movement is playing in promotion of global peace and security. The UN chief also highlighted the ideals of the NAM member states, calling for a global campaign for the establishment of peace and justice. He said all should defend the ideals of the movement, which are peace and equality, and make efforts for the realization of these ideals. He said the movement should work hand in hand with the UN to ensure that global institutions, including the Security Council, reflect the realities and dynamics of today's world. Elsewhere in his remarks, the UN chief described proliferation of nuclear weapons as a major threat against world countries, adding that Iran can assume a constructive role in countering the proliferation of nuclear weapons. He pointed to Iran's repeated calls for a nuclear-free Middle East and reaffirmed UN's resolve to pursue the same objective. Ban called on Tehran to continue cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency in an attempt to resolve concerns over the Islamic Republic's nuclear energy program. He also advised the P5+1 to avoid using threat as a means of resolving Iran's nuclear issue, as it may lead to violence. Also on Thursday, leader of the Islamic Revolution Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei hosted a number of presidents and high-ranking officials who had come to Tehran to attend the NAM summit. In a meeting with visiting Turkmen president, leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei termed friendship and cooperation as a priority in the policies of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The leader expressed happiness with the growing ties between Iran and Turkmenistan, adding that the two countries' vast and various potentials have further paved the way